Are we on? That's my first question always. Hi, everybody.
That was for us.
That was for you. I'm going to move this tree. Sit back a little bit. It's a very nice pillow. This is not something that I do very often. I have done this before, but I'm probably the most nervous person here. So I thought that we would just start off by explaining why we're here together and how we met. Because the story of how we met and how we got to be quick friends is, I think, a great one. I will start by saying that I was in Washington, D.C. with my husband, who happens to be Garth Brooks, which you guys know. He was receiving the Kennedy Center honors, no big deal. And there was a visit to the White House. And we both saw this fireball off to the side, and we're like, who is she? And then we met, and we were just talking to you and now you can take it over. This is about you.
Well, this is where I have to talk about myself. It was the festivities because of COVID. The award ceremonies went over a 3-day period, and at the end of this 3 days, it was the evening, and Garth and Tricia came up to me and said, "Look, I want you to know that whatever you want, wherever you have to go, if you want us to do a concert, you want us to do anything, we're there. We're there for you." And I said, "My brother will be so happy." I said, "Thank you very much." And she said, "You dumbass, we're talking about you."
I may not have called you a dumbass to that moment, but what I want to say is that what I immediately learned is that Valerie Biden, if you haven't read the book yet, is just a force. And it's hard to separate when you have a last name like Biden and you're so side by side with Joe, which is what we're going to talk about, but your whole life is so interesting and you are your own person. And it's difficult when your brother happens to be the leader of the free world, to talk about that. And so I just think it's really, I just think you're fabulous. And I just think that everybody needs to know your story. So that's why we're here.
Lock the doors, don't let anybody get out.
So this book is brave because you talk about politics, but really for me this book is about family. And there were some things that you said. I want to start by, I have a list of questions that were given to me, but I wrote my own very fancy notes here. One of the things that you said was the Michelangelo quote, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." It wasn't like, how did you carve the angel? And you said we all carve and are carved. Sometimes we hold the chisel and sometimes we are the marble. One of my other favorite quotes is, "It isn't easy raising an older brother."
That is true. I'm going right to heaven for that one.
So, I mean, maybe just talk about, you were very young when you kind of got thrown into campaigning, to being Aunt Val, all of those things. 26 years old, right?
Yeah.
How in the world did you, and you made it a career. I'm getting to a question, really. I'm terrible at this. I guess maybe let's just start with the easy question for me to ask, which is, what do you most hope people take from this book after they get done with it?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm a storyteller, and most of the book was the stories I'd written over the years. The hard part was putting it together and so that it flowed and anybody would be interested in it. And I said to Anne, "How the heck do you do this for a living?" It was like giving birth to an elephant, to get this book out. But I forgot your question. So why did I write, what do I want people to take from the book? The book is a story about the magic of family. And we were, my 3 brothers and I, are a middle-class American family, grew up in the mid-20th century. And I think that the threads that weave the fabric of family together, which are commitment and loyalty and love and heartbreak and disappointment and loss, are the threads that run through most of our families. I don't think we're a little bit different because my brother's president. But we all have stories. And I think that sharing, especially in this time period, about the similarities that exist in the families. There's so much, is so rewarding. So what I hope that you would get, or any of you who read the book, when you put it down and you said, God, that's me in that story. Or that's my brother. Yeah, I got a brother just like that. And that we're all in this together. The fancy word is empathy. It just means to feel, and to absorb. And I think that's the connective tissue in all of us. We're losing it with our rudeness and our cruelty, but it's still there. And the book is, as I said, about the magic of family.
I think that you just hit it on the head when you're talking about what we're losing. Because when I read the book, I was reading about some of the first campaigns, and I was thinking about, I know that politics has always been ugly and hard and difficult, but I think it's at a place now that we can't, that is beyond. So my next question is, how is it, for you, how is it different? And the reason that you got into politics, which I would never want to do, do you still, that feeling, because I felt it when I'm reading the book about just the excitement and the energy and the not knowing what's going to happen and everybody kind of coming together, and then when the election's over, getting support from, bipartisan support for the things that matter in America and the things that matter for the world. How has that changed for you? And can you still be positive and still be hopeful in a world where it's hard to sometimes find that hope?
Well, we have no alternative. So absolutely, and we have the right person, the right man at the right time in the right job sitting in the Oval Office. So and in all humility, it has not been easy raising an older brother. I'm just saying. But the reason that I got involved in politics, I'd rather be on stage. I'd rather do what you did, but I don't have any talent. Just minor. I mean, Jack, I could have been great. Yeah. Okay, I won't go into that part. So from the time that I can remember, and as my brother would say, Biden word of honor, it's gospel truth. From the time I could remember, my brother put his hand out and said, "Come on, Val, let's go. We've got things to do, places to go, and people to see." And he brought me with him. And when his friend said, "Why did you bring a girl?" He said, "She's not a girl, she's my sister." And he told me that anything that he could do, I could do better. He was 3 years older. It was impossible that I could do that. He was stronger, bigger, and braver than I. But he put such faith in me that I knew that I owed it to him and to myself to try to be that little girl growing into that woman. I don't think I would ever have been in elective politics. I mean, I've always in the political system of voting and paying attention and being informed. But I got in politics because my big brother Joe said, "Hey, I think I'll be a United States Senator," because he was always a leader, and there were things to do. And in '72, there was a combustible relationship between youth and the issues at the time. And Joe got in the race. He was 29, and he got in the race to be senator because of civil rights, fighting for civil rights against the war in Vietnam and to protect planet Earth. We were one of the first campaigns that ever talked about the environment. And I figured, well, hell, he's the first senator that he and I ever met, So I thought, well, if he could be senator, I could be campaign manager, for God's sakes. I mean, how tough could it be? And we had no money, no influence. We knew no one in influence. We had a Democratic Party that was dysfunctional, and we had Joe. We had passion, we had commitment, we had energy, and it was the first year, by the way, 18-year-olds could vote in 1972. I was a teacher at high school, Wilmington Friends School, which was an enclave of Republican, conservative, all the parents. They would have sooner voted for Mickey Mouse than a Democrat. But guess what? Their kids all came and worked on the campaign because Miss Biden told them if they didn't, she would flunk them. I mean, it was just a minor I mean, it was just a minor tick, you know.
No phones are on, right?
Yeah. And we won that first election by 3,163 votes in the Nixon-McGovern landslide year. And it was because the press called us the Children's Crusade. And these kids, we didn't have any money to mail brochures. We couldn't buy stamps. We hand-delivered 150,000 every weekend, brochures throughout the state for the 6 weekends before the election. Somebody said, one of the press people said, it's remarkable that a candidate in 6 weeks could start with the 18% recognition factor we had September Labor Day weekend, and we won 6 weeks later. So there's drive, there's enthusiasm, but I was there because I was his sister. I have a PhD in Joe. I don't have a PhD in political science, but we just did it. Reach and risk. And as Mom told us, be bold, not brash. You know, be confident, not cocky. And that's what we tried to do.
My sister and I were
Do
wondering.
you think I have a future?
I think that
with your-
I think that my sister and I would like to see if you would be our therapist, because we
Oh,
we grew up
no,
in
I
a
meant in the band. I meant singing, and I mean,
no.
Garth
We
could see me
Jack
now.
says no. He's shaking his head like no singing, because that. Like our parents raised us that we could do anything we wanted to, but we were still raised in the South where you can do anything you want to, but still be quieter, be polite. Don't. And we took that as if you're bold, you're brash. So it for me in the industry that I'm in, to be loud, which some people who know me won't believe, did not come easily. It was like to really put myself out there was not easy to do. And you had Joe who had, I mean, implicit trust in you, blind trust in you, and believed in you so much that you couldn't help but believe in yourself. I mean, reading this book and all the things that he trusted you. And if he came in, I love that story where he comes in and he's mad at you for some ad you're going to run, and you said, I thought it was good, and he's like, all right. And like your word is gold, and that is really a special bond that I don't think even siblings have. I mean, you guys have something that goes beyond just being, you know, his favorite sisters. Like he trusts you.
yeah, I would have to smother one if I had one. So I'm the only one. But you know, I have 3 brothers, and it goes down the lane. You know, all of us are close, and that's good and bad, because you know, when you share in the highs, you got to share in the lows. I mean, you don't take a piece of it. I said my 3 brothers were a gift. My husband I earned, but my three brothers are a gift. And Mom and Dad, you know, they just told us that there was family and family and family.
Right.
That was the beginning, the middle, of the end, and we had to figure out. Oh, I started to tell you about family meetings.
Oh,
this
yeah.
was it. Or do you want to ask me something?
No, I'm going to
else?
ask you a really great question next. You go ahead, talk about the family meetings.
I don't feel like it.
Tell us about the family meetings you used to have.
Well, we were look, we were not perfect kids by any means, and we were rambunctious with 4 kids. But when we went out the door, we had to stick together, and we were Bidens, and not that Bidens were anything like Kennedys or Rockefellers. We were just 4 kids, and God forbid if my mother and father heard that we turned on one another or we said something unkind to each other. But we also were annoyed with each other. And what we would do is a very democratic organization. Any one of the 4 of us could call a family meeting. And we would go upstairs. We had a 3-bedroom house, split-level house. We'd go in the boys' bedroom. I'm the only girl, so I had my own bedroom with my pink telephone. But pink Philco radio. Anyway, we would go in the boys' room, and whoever had a problem would say, you know, you really, Tricia or Valerie, why would you say something? Why did you do that in the schoolyard yesterday? I mean, you are such a jerk. And I could say to Joe or Jimmy, yeah, I'm a jerk. What do you think you are? And we would belt it out. Whatever was wrong, whatever the issue was, whatever the hurt was, we talked about it and we mended it. We said, oh, God, I didn't mean, I see what you said, you know. God, I was an ass. I didn't mean that. And oh, okay. And we believed each other. And that's what we would call that's how we work things out with family meetings. That was my very interesting story that eclipsed your next question.
No, it's a really interesting story. It's really interesting because I think.
And Joe was an ass a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he's not perfect, okay?
Well, you brought up Jack, your husband, who is here. And how many years have you guys been married? Do you know, Jack? Do you know anyone? Bueller?
47. He gets 47. Oh, okay. It was the other guy. 46. 46. It will be 47 in October.
I would like you to tell this group how much you basically hated each other when you met. I think it's a fascinating story, and I think people want to know. I just give a little Cliff Notes version of that, or the longest version you want of it, because I love the story about these two people who they were destined to be together, but they were the last ones to know it.
Jack is SLOW. He did not appreciate me. My brother Joe and Jack went to law school together, Syracuse Law School. They met on the first day and became instant friends. I was a junior at the University of Delaware, and I was going up to see Joe and his soon-to-be wife, Nelia, his late wife. So I went up to Nelia's house, and it was their homecoming weekend at Syracuse. And my brother said, it was the old days, and in the dorm, there was a phone booth at the end of the dorm. We didn't know, there were no cell phones. And I'm in the phone booth, and Joe said, look, when you come up, I've got this guy that I want you to go out with, a friend of mine, his name. And I said, and I thought, oh, God, this cannot be good. He's probably going to be a Jesuit or something, that. But my brother wants me to go out with him. I mean, I wanted some action, And so I said, I was interested in the guy at school at Delaware, and I said, Joey, I do not want to go out with anybody that you picked out for me. And Nelia, she had an expression which was, I promise you, which she would often say. It was she who got on the phone that really surprised me. She said, Valerie, I promise you, if I could pick any guy in the entire world for you, I would pick Jack Owens. And I thought, oh. And the moral of the story is that I should have listened to Joe and Nelia, because it took him 10 years later to the weekend to marry me. And he was he just didn't see my talent. He didn't catch it right away. 10 years later.
And he doesn't have a mic, because he's just there's so much I can see that you just want to say about the whole situation. I mean, didn't you say things to him like I don't ever want to be ever where you are, just stay away from me? I mean, those are things that kind of polarize a guy if he's thinking about asking you out, right?
Yeah, well, okay. The bad, Mom said out of every tragedy, something good will come, a very dark cloud. Well, there was anything good could come out of Nelia's death and the accident. We were elected on November 7th, 1972. Bright young hope at the Democratic Party, beautiful wife, 3 beautiful children. Joe and I are in Washington hiring staff, and Nelia's in the station wagon, get hit broadside by a tractor trailer. Nelia and the baby, Amy, were killed instantly, and Bo and Hunt, who were 2 and 3 at the time, were seriously injured and in the hospital for a long time. Out of that tragedy, Jack was a lawyer in Pittsburgh. He and my brother Jimmy Biden kind of just turned their life around and stayed with Joe. I mean, just to keep him company, because the last thing he wanted to do was to go in that room, alone every night. But he had to, because he had a purpose, which is Bo and Hunt. He had to be a strong daddy and say everything's going to be okay. So all through that's how I got to be friends with Jack, because I saw his goodness and his gentleness with Joe. And Joe was the guy, like if I stubbed my toe, I'd say, oh, Joe, this is terrible. And I couldn't go to Joe anymore because he lost his life. His heart was ripped out from it. So Jack and I started to talk, because he would be waiting for Joe to come home. And, he was the last guy in the world that I would ever be interested in. I didn't even put on mascara, in the, to see him, or my hair would be dirty and he'd be in for Joe. And we just started talking. We became friends long before we became lovers.
And you you moved in with Joe to help raise those kids.
Yeah.
And you didn't have children of your own. I mean,
Correct.
you changed your whole life and talked him into staying in the Senate
Yeah.
because he didn't want to do it, right? He probably didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, talk a little bit about how that shaped you, and then especially how that shaped you moving forward, having your own children.
I say Bo and Hunt were my training wheels to have my 3 children. It was, again, out of this terrible tragedy, there was a time of great healing and a gift that Bo, my brother, let me in his life. Bo and Hunt turned 3 and 4 that February. Jimmy Biden and Joe Jimmy just stuck with them. I moved into the house. Jimmy Biden, Frank Biden, Joe Biden would have done the same thing for me. There was nothing heroic. You know, when your family needs, you just do it. You don't say, oh my God, aren't I wonderful? Do you want me to do this? I said to Joe, I'm going to move. He didn't think he could do the job. He told Jimmy Biden to call the governor and tell the governor that the Delaware could get another senator, but the boys couldn't get another father. So he was not going to serve. And we all talked to him, but my conversation was, Joe, look, the same issues, November 7th, the people elected you to help take care of, still exist on December 19th. So Nelia, I think you owe it to Nelia. She worked so hard to get you there. So give it a try. And it was a time of the collegiality in the Senate. Republicans and Democrats said, come on, Joe, just try it for 6 months. So he had asked Jimmy to call the governor, and fortunately Jimmy did not at those early days, and he tried it. And I never wanted to replace Mommy. That was Nelia. Mommy, I wasn't Mommy. And I never wanted to take a part of Joe. I hope that Joe, he was just 30 years old, that he would someday remarry and have a life and laughter and fun and enjoy. So I didn't want to fill that space where a new woman could come in. So I was perennial Aunt Val. And that's how I got to meet. I have all these adopted kids out here. Bernadette's kids are my kids, and I was marrying Jack. And this is a good story about him, Jack. Don't worry. We're in the house, and this romance had happened. It was over a couple-year period, and so it's time we're going to get married. And he said, so it was around Christmas time. And this is fast forward 2 or 3 years, fast forward. And he said, okay, when you want to get married? And I said, well, look, let's get married in May. And to quote my mother, it was the Blessed Mother's Month. It was spring. So it seemed like a good time. And he said, okay, that's what we'll do. And he left and went home to his apartment. The next morning, he picked me up really and truly to go to, it was 9 o'clock Mass. He picked me up to go to Mass. The boys had spent the night with my mom and dad at Woods Road. He walks in the house. I'm at the top of the steps. I'm in my robe, and I look like I have been through the war zone. My face I'm blotched, I'm red all over, and I cried all night long. I mean, I didn't cry. I sobbed with real drama, and I'm by myself, and I realized I can't marry him. And he looked up and he said, what's the matter? And I said, I can't marry you. And he said, what the hell happened in the last 8 hours? And he came up the steps and he put his arms around me, and I said, the boys can't lose another mother. And he said, oh, that's the only problem. We'll figure that out. That's no problem at all. I'm marrying you, and I'm marrying the boys too, until it's time to go. And 5 years later, Jill came into Joe's life, and we handed over the right. We still collectively raise each other's children. We just in separate houses now.
That's a good story. That's a good man. That's
That
really sweet.
that's a good story about Jack. Now you want to get down to some really good stuff.
Yeah, give us the dirt.
No.
And then when Jill came into the picture, you know, family, you're very protective, and you've been living here and you've been helping raise these boys. As much as you wanted somebody for Joe, I mean, you had to have a minute of like, this better be the right woman, right?
Yeah, that's yes. I mean, that's how I felt about Sarah with Jimmy. For Christ's sakes, you know, that's my sister-in-law. There, my brothers were really good to me. They gave me good sisters, because I mean that can really wreck things up if you know the spouses don't like each other. But my brothers were good to me, but I trusted Jill. I mean, Jill was. I talk about her in the book, and she was serious of purpose, and she knew that when she married Joe, she was marrying the state of Delaware, she was marrying the Biden family, and she was marrying those two boys. So she took it slowly. She was serious about it. I knew she was thinking all the time, and we developed our own relationship and our own code, and we trusted each other, and we're fortunate. So it was good. It was time. It was time for us to move out. Missy, our firstborn, was born with Joe, but it was when he married. It was time to go so that they could move, you know, have their own family. And Ashley was then born, and we moved a block and a half away.
Yeah.
So.
You're so close. My sister lives across the farm from me, so I get it. We're similar in that way, that whole family thing. This is your first book, right?
Yeah. I think it's a single child.
When you were done with it, did you ask? Did your brother read it before you?
No. I didn't.
Did you let anybody read it?
Well, my children were very helpful with me, and Jack would read sections, and I, you know, I'd ask his opinions, but I didn't give it. And Jimmy Biden, I gave it to Jimmy Biden to read, but I didn't give it to Joe because he was dealing with Putin, you know. He was dealing with immigration. Instead of, Joey, what happened in 8th grade? What was that girl's name you dated? You know, it just didn't seem appropriate, you know? So I knew he'd take my call, but yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a surprise.
Yeah. It's a lot like me. Like writing the cookbook, my sister helps me a lot, but she was at pickleball a lot, and I didn't want to bother her, so
Yeah.
it's very similar. Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, we have respect for our siblings. Yeah.
Let's talk about being.
Me again?
Yes, this is all about you, and I love it. I love that this is not about me. It's so fun. The first woman in history to run a presidential campaign, and you write a lot about women in the book, and you say something that resonated with me a lot as a female artist, in that you just didn't realize how hard it was going to be. Sometimes ignorance is a great thing.
It is.
Of like just thinking, because I remember thinking, well, anybody can do this because somebody's got to be on the radio. I didn't know the rate of failure in the music industry, gratefully. So talk a little bit about how that was, especially at that time, although in some ways it's not a lot different now,
Yeah.
for a woman to be in a position of power.
Well, you're right about it. It's a good thing, you know, not to know, because you would be too intimidated. And in 1972, with this first campaign with the Senate, I really had it a lot easier than a lot of women, because first of all, in 72, and this is a blanket statement, and you can probably find somebody who was a campaign manager in some place, but for the story of the argument, there were no women candidates. There were no women campaign managers. There were no women media consultants. There were a few women journalists. It was a boys' playground. The way I had it easier is my brother pulled up a chair at the table and said, "This is my sister. Whatever she says," the table were all men. "Whatever she says, assume I'm saying it, because she speaks for me, and everything has to be approved by her." So he could go out and do what only he could do, which is listen to the voters, talk about values, say this is how they could work together. So that's my advantage, was being able to complete a sentence and knowing what the answer was, his by Jesuit logic and mine mostly by instinct. So that was the easy part, that he pulled the chair up. But then when he left the room, then I had to stand on my own, and I was considered by not a lot, but some really dumb men to be a token. I was either the token woman or the token relative on the staff, and there were. It didn't take them too long to figure out that I wasn't a token, but I didn't have. I had it easy because Joe couldn't fire me. I mean, like, he couldn't fire me from the family. You know, it's really hard with anybody in power, whether it's business or politics right now, for your staff person to come up and say, you know, Tricia, you're really good, but you're pretty good, but God, did you blow it? Yes. I mean, why don't you get your act together? You know, that takes a profile in courage to come up and to tell your boss. And but I didn't want a resume. I didn't want a promotion. I was a sister, and nothing was ever going to change. So that was the glory of my being able, to say everybody needs the truth, except for, the people who come up and say, I really, really have to tell you, I have to be honest with you. No, you don't. I didn't ask for your opinion. Those kind, it's the ones who come up and they just give you their nice little zinger. I really, no, you don't. Why don't you just walk away and we'll both be okay?
I love a conversation that starts with, now, I hope this doesn't offend you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't say anything further.
Yeah.
it's-
I really have to tell you, no, you don't have to tell me.
No.
You
I also
don't.
love, you look tired. Never say that to me. I don't care if I look really, really tired. Never say that to me. Why would you say that to anyone?
I have one too. Calm down. This one. Bernadette. I'm walking around and doing, just calm down. Shut up. Don't tell me to calm down.
I think I told you to calm down when you called me this morning. I'm sorry. I apologize. But she needed to calm down. She really did.
It was Catholic guilt this morning in my conversation.
You talk about imposter syndrome, which I don't really think I understood until you talked about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have that too. If anybody doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, it's basically where you're doing something and you're being
what
pretty
we're doing
successful.
right
What
now.
we're doing right now. But you kind of inside both think that you guys are all going to figure out in a second that we have no idea what we're talking about. I feel that way every time I make a new album. I feel that way every time I go into a set to start a cooking season, that I'm going to, like, why am I here? What am I doing here? I'm going to walk in and they're going to go, you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, you're right. I'll let myself out. Just talk a little bit about what that's like for you and why you talk about it in the book.
Well, I think that, again, vast generalizations, but, for a man, there's a job and they want a promotion and you can go to Japan to represent the company. Well, they don't know how to speak Japanese. They don't know anything about the Japanese culture, but they say, sure, I'll go. I can do it. You ask a woman, and I said, God, I don't think I'm prepared for that. I haven't taken a course in Japanese. I don't know how to speak the language. I don't know about the culture. We second guess ourselves all the time. So again, you just gotta step up to the plate, and you gotta try. That's why women, what we have to do, and what you do, is mentor and sponsor. We women we have not been our sister's keeper. Well, my age of growing up, there was one slot in the rung in the ladder, or one slot in the office for a woman, and when she got it, she kept it. You guys figure out how to do it. Now it's changed. I mean, the balance has changed because of mentorship, meaning I'll take you under my wing, and sponsorship, which is even harder. I take you under my wing, but I'm also going to throw you in the pool because you can do it. If you start to drown, I'll pull you up, but you got to do it, and that's the only way you get rid of this fear. You just got to get up and walk through it, and then when you do that album and you do that cooking show, and you walk out and say, I'm not bad.
Right.
I'm pretty good. It's easier because I had somebody telling me I was good, and so I had my mother and father, I had my brothers, I had my husband, and I had my children. I'm fortunate. It's the ones who don't have anybody to tell. It's really harder.
And I think that's why it's so important to be a mentor and a sponsor, because the thing that we have in common as girls and women, I think, is that we really do second guess ourselves, and that we also think someone who's doing it and doing it well doesn't have any problems and doesn't have the same fears that somebody else has. And we really do have so much more in common than you would ever know. So how do you encourage? Because for me, I feel like for me it's, I came from a very small town with I didn't have an inn. I didn't know anybody when I moved here. I didn't have, whatever the odds were, they were very against me. But I believed in myself, and I had people that believed in me that confirmed, all of that and pushed me forward and did throw me in the pool and out of my comfort zone. And I said yes to things that I didn't know how to do and pretended I knew until I knew. But how do you tell people how do you nurture? I mean, you have a daughter. I mean, is Missy here?
No, she had to work.
She's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. She's our eldest. And our son, he's the most handsome man in the world. I mean, it's a vacuous statement from a mother. He's brilliant, but God, he's a great kid and a little baby. All right.
But just talk about how you have how you mentor and why you think that's important.
Well, I tell you how. Again, I had it easier, but praise goes a long way. I think praise really, really matters. Not the praise that you are just so darling, I can eat you with a spoon. Not that junk. But the praise and in the workplace of, you know what? You did a remarkable job. You had 50 people in that group. You talked them into or listened to them. You came up with a coherent plan. That's the plan we're going to use for this office. Thank you. You are really smart. And you're smart the way that you kept those people together and let them all speak. That's the kind of praise that we have to have. And I was able, the reason I was a good campaign manager is because I had nothing to gain or lose. For example, there would be a rally, and my brother would be all over, it would be successful. And it would be over, and he'd come up and he'd give me a hug, and he said, God, Val, how did you do that? How did you get 500 people, 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is? How'd you get them to all come? I said, I didn't get them. Tricia got them. I already was a sister. I already had the secure place. Whoever got them there, I told Joe, that person, she did it. He did it. And the loyalty from those, everybody in the kids in the campaign, the people in the campaign, worked to elect Joe, but their loyalty was to me because I acknowledged them. And I not because I'm good. I didn't have anything to lose. Like I said, I'm a sister, so what's he going to do with me, But people need to be recognized.
Yeah, and I think we all second guess ourselves in our work. And so when somebody says, I saw what you did there, and that was a really good thing, because I was always sort of, in the beginning, I had to learn to be a boss. I mean, I just want to be a singer. I didn't have any idea that I was going to be like a den mother to a band and a crew. I mean, it's children. And learning how to be a leader, because I really wasn't. I really just wanted to sing. And I always thought, well, if you're here because you're doing a good job, like if you're not doing a good job, you're not going to be here. So I don't need to come out and tell you how great you are all the time. But you're right. It's not oh my gosh, you're so amazing. It's that was a really tough gig, and this is what you did that I noticed, and just it's important. It is important
to
because,
be recognized.
Yeah.
Did you sing in high school?
I did. We didn't have we had, a town of 2,500 people, so we didn't have, we had a school chorus, really. We sang in church. That was kind of it. But I did. I mean, I always knew. I mean, I knew at 5. At 5, I wanted to be Cher, which actually I kind of still do. But, I mean, who doesn't? But I knew, and so I was just...
I just wanted to marry Ricky Nelson.
Jack. I mean, I'm just saying. He was cute.
Yeah.
Ricky Nelson was very cute.
So were you in school plays and stuff? Or did you have
Yes, I was in anything that I could do creatively, I did. We had a couple of school plays, and then when I got to junior college, I was a business major because my dad was a banker. I was very practical, and I was miserable because I wanted to be singing. And so I wasn't in the drama department, but I did all the musicals and all the school plays. And then I just thought, I was 19, and I thought, if I don't go to Nashville and try to figure this out, I'm going to be miserable. I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do because I know that path, and I know you can get a degree and you can easily see how to get a job doing that. This whole thing is way different, and there's no degree and there's no rule, but that's what I want to do.
You came by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I did. But I finished college. Our parents were very much, going to college was not a discussion. We didn't have a say. And I wanted to go to school. So I used Nashville and transferred and finished here at Belmont University
Oh, yeah.
to get here. Really
That's
was
a great
my-
art school. That's
Yeah,
what
and-
yeah.
and-
Well,
and
the
I
mus-
got- and I
particularly
had-
music, isn't it?
I had a lot.
Yeah.
It does, and I had a lot of business classes. So I actually got a business degree because I didn't want to go to school for another 5 years. But I knew this was my way here. So it was great because I had the security and safety of living in a dorm, but I was in the town where the music I wanted to make was being made.
Smart girl.
It worked out.
Yeah. I'd say. What do you say? Do you think it worked out? Yeah.
But well, thank you. This is not growing up Yearwood, so we'll talk about that some other time. Am I missing? Are these the questions that I'm supposed to be? Because there were questions that you guys turned in, and I'm going through them. But then I thought, are there more questions I'm supposed to have? I'm good. Okay, just want to make sure. Let me just look through these because I have been asking some of your questions. I hope you've heard your questions here, because I want to ask you something interesting. Am I missing anything you want to talk about? I hate it when people say that to me when I'm doing an interview. Never mind. Forget I said that.
I'm not talking about sex, so don't go there.
So, sex. Well, this awkwardly leads into what do you believe is your brother's best quality? I won't ask you that after that one. That's not what we want to do.
It's kind of kinky.
I love your childhood. I can't ask that now. You said sex. Like Valerie Biden said the word sex. I can't even function right now. What's next for you? That was Larry King's big question. What's next for you? Did you ever think about running for office yourself? Not on the list, but I'm just curious.
Yes. I mean, I was asked to run, but I didn't want to. I had I thought the best of both worlds. Joe, the Senate was every 6 years. So for 4 years, I was what I call normal life, living with Jack and having a baby. And then a year and a half before the election, I'd go back full time. But it was a family affair. I could take my child with me, or leave her at mom's. And then I'd finish that campaign and go back and have another baby and, and wait 3 or 4 years. And the rhythm was pretty good. I don't mean the rhythm. I meant...
Move on, Val.
Okay,
Just move
moving
on.
on. So,
You're good.
no, I was happy because I could come in and out of politics, the actual work, whenever I wanted to. When Joe was in Washington and he couldn't make it home for a dinner or an event, then I would get to go and, be a big girl and would speak for him and kind of screw him up a little bit, a little bit of humor. Sometimes he's very stiff, so I would just kind of loosen the crowd up. What did you say, Valerie? So the answer is no, I didn't want to be elected office. I was happy where I was.
So when I met you and told you I would be your campaign manager, you just lost it. You're not going to run for anything.
No, but I got to keep thinking of ways to stay in touch with you. So maybe if it takes to run for office, maybe I could do that.
Well, we're friends now. It's all good. Anytime. How are we doing on time? Are we doing good? 15 minutes. Okay.
Jesus, she
Right.
said 15 minutes.
She's intimidating, right? She scared you for a second, didn't she? This is a good question. I'm not sure who wrote this one, but it says, what childhood lessons that Joe learned do you think are reflected most in his actions as president?
How to deal with a bully, I think. I don't know if you know it or not, but from the time Joe was a little boy, he was a terrible stutterer. He could not string more than 3 words together at a time. And because of that, he knows what it feels like to be made fun of and to be put in a corner and to be humiliated. And when you are bullied, you have a choice as you grow up. You either become a bully yourself when you get the opportunity, or you develop what I talked about before, empathy, realizing that we're all in this together. So I think that the the hardship of being bullied really built my brother's character layer by layer by layer to stand up and to, not take it. And that is what we did in 2020 with the former president, who I call a bully. And so I think that's, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
did.
I could go on, I'm a Biden, I could spin off into another thing. So
I mean, just from the outside looking in, what I like about your brother is he's kind. And I think that does come from, I think that we all, if we have something that, if it's easy for us, we don't really have, it's harder to have empathy when everything is easy. And if you have something in your childhood, and I mean, there's a lot of things you can talk about Joe Biden, and the things that he has had to go through to be where he is, have put him in a place to have empathy. And even in these times, to still really be trying to bring America together, and, famously being friends with John McCain and working across the aisle as a senator. I mean, those things are things that are respected, and respect is important. And so, I'm not going. This is the Valerie Biden book, but I just want to say that your family has our respect and love, and I'm just glad that you're there.
thank you. I am too.
Joe describes you as his best friend. I describe my sister as my person. What has surprised you most about what he's accomplished? Because, I don't know, you'd have to interview my sister, if she thought that I would grow up to do this. But did you think, or when did you think, this guy's going to be the president? I know he had a couple of runs early on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't ever, I didn't consciously think of his being the president, but he always was a leader. And I think what I look for in a leader is temperament, empathy, character, intelligence, integrity. And he has had that since he was a little boy. He was always the leader of the pack, not the kid who stood up and pounded his chest and said, come follow me. But people went to follow him and to talk to, because he was kind. Again, he's not a wimp, and he's not, a holier than thou. With his kindness, he's whip smart, and that's a great combination. So I think that I knew that he would be in public office, because he always wanted to go one step further. I mean, he's a guy who has to have purpose, and he thinks, and he believes in himself. Like when he stuttered so terribly, people made fun of him, adults and kids. My mom said, "Oh, Joey," and the people, they think stutterers are stupid. And my mom said, "Joey, the reason you stutter is you're so smart you can't get the words out fast enough. That's how you turn things around." And he was always, so as I said, I knew he was going to be a leader. He ran for county council, and then ran for the Senate, and then we got whipsawed a little bit with the presidency. But I mean, this 2020, I was not cool with running. I mean, I talk about it in the book. And, because it's a family affair, the whole family's, you're all dragged into the good and the bad. And everybody was Joe had no intention of running in 2020. After Bo died in 2015, we were shut down, and Joe didn't wake up every morning saying, I gotta be president, where's my next opportunity? But he said he couldn't, with our former president, and after Charlottesville, walking with Nazi tiki torches and chants from the 1930s, Joe said if he didn't run, he would never be able to look at himself in the mirror again, because he didn't want to be bullied and by fear stopping him from doing what he thought he could do, which is restore the soul of America and work to and bring up the middle class and unite us. So, when he said, Val, I got to, I can't turn away. And then I was all in. But I thought, like, who needs this? You know, because I knew that this man and the former president, would do anything in his power to destroy my brother and my family. So I wasn't looking forward to it. But and my expectations have been exceeded.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I don't want to throw social media under the bus, but I do think you were talking about earlier rudeness, people saying anything and everything and not caring what they say. And a lot of that leadership does come from the top. Mm-hmm. We're in an era where I do think that we see the worst of who we are every day in the news and on the media. And I do think that there are a lot of Americans on both sides who, there shouldn't be a side, but with various beliefs, who really want the best for America. This is going to be a hard question, because this is a question that we talk about, my sister and I talk about all the time, my husband and I talk about this all the time, about the soul of America. How, in this day and age, do we tap into the good part, tap into the all, instead of believing that it's the worst of what we see? How you have to have hope. Hope never dies. But what can we do to try to make a better future for our children and our grandchildren?
Well, if I'm not being a smart ass. I mean, if I had the answer, I would
Yeah.
be very. But I think it starts with each individual, just how we deal with the man who walks out the door in front of us, or we say thank you or please. And I mean, look what we do with our kids. I mean, the language that they use and the way they speak to each other. And I mean, it's really, really hard. I mean, I have a difficult time because I just want to go for the jugular and rip it out. So I
Same.
yeah. Isn't she sweet, Jack? Yeah. So I just know that we. I mean, you don't see, you see Joe as the leader of the free world, with being strong, but he does not appeal to our worst enemy. He appeals to our better angels. I mean, he is a leader that we are proud of, that the rest of the world looks up to, whether you like his policies or not. And if you don't like his policies, I don't want to hear about it, okay? Tell Sarah, and she'll go back. But I don't, it's on each one of us, is what I'm saying. Each one of us to try and tap it down a little bit, and it's really, really hard. I've had my tongue severed and resewn 150 times, But I try and be better. But, I can't answer the question. I don't know what we do, except each one try. It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that you think that that whole, age-old dilemma of what can one person do, but it is those things. It's kindnesses, big and small.
I think our lives are determined by simple acts of kindness. Simple acts of kindness. And our day, our lives, that we live one day at a time. And a simple act of kindness performed by you or to you can really change you that day. It's like, oh. And conversely, a simple act of cruelty can, just slough it off. Well, it's hard just to slough it off. And it's hard to slough it off when they said it about my brother. It's easier to slough it off when they say it about me, although they seldom ever do.
No, everything here says you're perfect.
Yeah, but it's hard. I think the person, like with a parent, you want to protect anybody that you love, or your sister. It's harder for you to hear something bad about your sister than it is about you.
Absolutely.
So we just have to keep trying. And by the way, in talking about Joe and my brothers and my whole family, we're all just regular, normal people. I don't have to make Joe any better than he is. He doesn't walk on water. He can be a jerk. I get mad at him. He gets mad at me. But nothing that's essential to character. So I don't have to make these people godlike. They're just my brothers and my husband and my family.
And I think if you haven't read the book, I think the best thing about this book for me is that insight into family. We all think we know who people are, especially people who are in the public eye. And I think that in these very divisive times, if we could know about each other, empathy is the word. If you could just not assume that everybody is the same way you are, or assume something about somebody because of what you think you might know about them, because of what you might have read in an article or whatever. This book is it's a really visual. I mean, I saw your family growing up. I saw the things that I took from it growing up in a family that had each other's backs, in a very close family. It would bring us together because you'd see the things that we have a lot more in common than we don't. So very well done, well written book.
That makes me. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted, and that makes me feel real. That's what I wanted from the book. Somebody to say, you know, that's me. I get it. I'm in that book, and that makes me an author. I am a real live author. Yeah.
I would like to just say thank you to Ann Patchett, thank you to Parnassus, and thank you to Valerie Biden Owens for being here.
Thank you.